Hey everybody, it's Alex here from Carnivore for Life, and it's Kerry from HomesteadHow. Welcome, Kerry.
Thank you, Alex.
Okay, so guys, welcome to viewers and subscribers from my channel and obviously from Kerry's. We're doing a simulcast tonight?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to say real quick, I am so sorry. It was completely my fault. We're running late right now. I had this on my calendar for Wednesday and it was my mistake. So my apologies. Yeah. Thank you for hanging in there. I still see a lot of people in the chat. Really appreciate it. Totally my fault. Carnivores don't forget. I don't know what happened there. I put it the wrong day on the calendar though.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, I was sitting here. I sent a quick message to your channel, but I thought it's got to be something important, for Kerry not to do it. So yeah, so let's get back into the subject. It's called Mental Health, a Deep Dive. It's been on my mind for a couple of months because I've been listening to your, obviously watching your videos and many videos on YouTube. And, mental health, cancer, massive subjects and so connected to what we're doing as carnivores, not just carnivores, but metabolic health in general. I've been watching Dr. Seyfried's videos, but mental health kept coming back to me because obviously I've had a brief experience around about 2020. And I've obviously been watching your chronicles with extreme interest at my age. So obviously, guys, the questions that we're going to have tonight, if you want to do questions before we finish, I know Kerry's got another call after me, so we're going to probably do about an hour or so. But Kerry, if you do need to go anytime, just, wave the flag. Okay. Yeah, so before we start, on our last live stream in January 2nd, it was a great chat. It was the first time I'd actually asked for anybody to do super chats, and we had some generous donations for the healinghumanity.movie, which you can obviously see in the right-hand corner. And I just wanted to say a quick thank to the following YouTubers: Mike's Life from the UK, Paul from UK Carnivore Guy, the Carnivore Boss, I think, great channel. She's from Denmark. I think she's on tonight, and some great stuff coming from the Carnivore Boss. Babsy East, I think Babsy is Barbara Eastham. I don't know whether she's from the UK or from the US, but I know she follows both our channels, Kerry. Erodicity, it's quite hard to say. Lucy D and June BB. I know June was starting carnivore around about January, and I think she'd been inspired by both myself and you, Kerry. So, guys, thanks very much for the contributions. Because I was new to super chats and everything, I don't understand how this all works, but Kerry advised me that to wait for the end of the month. And once I was able to get enough money to release, I sent it to him by PayPal. So, guys, thanks again. It's a very worthy cause. So, if you do want to put any chats in tonight, obviously on Kerry's channel, by all means do that. If you put any of the super chats on my channel, guys, obviously I will put them through to Kerry at the end of the month, and I'll just get him to confirm that. So, wow,
thank you.
Sorry, go on.
I just want to say thank you so much, Alex, for doing that, and for everyone that contributed. It's really humbling. It's funny that what I was doing before this, when I got your email, it said, Kerry, where the heck are you? I was editing together my video because I'm coming up on 1 year on carnivore next week. And I was actually, it's so crazy, Alex. I was editing the portion with you like just a couple minutes ago, the first video that you and I did together. But it's crazy how far how far things have come now. And we just filmed Dr. Ken Berry a month or two ago, and we just had a big meetup here in Montello with Dr. Hampton. And none of this would be happening, like traveling around the world filming these individuals. It's all been crowdfunded. It's been my own money, my own time. Adam from Carnivore Today has been helping immensely as well, but wouldn't be possible without the community. So we really appreciate the super chats and the memberships. And the last thing I'll say on it is I'm really proud of the fact that our documentary, it's ours. It's not mine. I keep saying that it's ours. It is going to be one of the very few that is pretty much strictly crowdfunded up to this point, unless something changes. Most documentaries you look at, like these ones on Netflix, you dig into them and they're sponsored by Impossible Meat or Beyond Burgers or some company. There's some motivation. There's some sort of bias. I guess there's still some motivation if it's crowdfunded, but it's a lot different than having a corporation fund the documentary. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Just quickly, my football team is Everton, and it's a working class club and they call it the People's Club. And I think what we'll be doing is be calling this documentary the People's Documentary, without doubt. So again, Kerry, you know, as I say, the great foundations, and you know, we've got to keep on getting these donations going, guys. So obviously, if you're able to make any donation, we're always thankful, grateful, and blessed. Is that right, Kerry?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So so there's obviously people who don't know you. I'd be very surprised if it's that many, but for those of you who don't know Kerry's channel or mine, I'm not going to introduce myself tonight because I've got a few videos coming out this week. But Kerry, please introduce yourself to any new viewers or subscribers and a brief outline of your carnivore journey so far.
Sure. So yeah, my name is Kerry, and I have been eating a proper human diet now for almost a year. I'm about a week shy of a year, and it's completely changed my life forever. It's interesting because we're talking about mental health and depression today, and I recently got a hold of a bunch of my medical records, and I was such a mess for most of my adult life. So many ailments and issues and health problems. I didn't even realize how bad it was until I started like going through all of those records, because a lot of that time I was in a brain fog and a brain blur, and I was fatigued and tired. But I guess just real quickly, the worst of my issues, well, I'll start out with some of them, was I had sleep apnea. I was using a CPAP machine for years. I was diagnosed with IBS. My appendix burst. It almost killed me. I had to go in and have surgery to clean it all up. I lost my gallbladder. The biggest thing for me was arthritis. The last 18 months before I started carnivore, I had arthritis in my back and in my elbows, and I was using a mobility scooter. Anytime I'd go to like the grocery store or shopping, I'd sit down on a mobility scooter because my foot hurt so bad. I saw 3 different doctors. They wanted to do surgery on it. All of those things were pretty bad. I was 100 pounds heavier than I am now at my heaviest. Actually, I'm about 104 pounds. I'm about 104 pounds lighter than I was at my heaviest right now. But the worst of all of it for me was the depression and anxiety I suffered from for most of my adult life. I just had a bunch of carnivore friends over this weekend. It was incredible. We did a big meetup at Montello Theater. But my good friend Adam was with me, and he saw like where I'm living and what I'm doing. He's like, it's so hard to believe that you were so depressed and anxious before. And because you're so fired up and you're so inspiring and you're so like excited about things now. And I always try to tell people, I believe it's that way because I was in such a dark place for so long. It's just, and I would have given anything to just be normal. I remember I'd have family and loved ones come over. This was kind of selfish, but I got really jealous at one time. I have this aunt, and she's just the nicest, sweetest person. And she'd come into the room and she'd just be like, "Oh, hi, how is everyone?" And I was in such a deep, dark depression one time when that happened. I remember thinking, I will never be like that. I can't even fake that. I can't even come close to that, just pure joy she has. And I would have given anything to just be flatlined, just not hopelessly depressed and suicidal and just terribly, terribly in a dark place my whole life. But on carnivore, eating the proper human diet, I am the opposite of whatever that hopelessness is. I'm excited. I'm fired up. I have that joy that my aunt had that I never thought I would have my entire life. And I think that's why people are like, this guy's so fired up. This guy's so inspirational. Every time I hear that, I'm still getting used to it. I'm like, if you talk to my close family and friends, they'd be like, you should have seen this dude a year ago, because it wasn't that way. I feel like I'm making up for lost time. And I feel like I'm doing it because I'm so excited, because I was so hopeless. And there are literally 1 billion people right now. That's what Dr. Georgia Ede, Harvard-trained psychiatrist, taught me. 1 billion people right now with mental health issues, depression, anxiety. And I think that number is drastically underreported. Looking at my medical records earlier, I didn't even go in for help for years and years when I suffered with depression and anxiety. It took me years to go in for help. So there's so many people that are hopeless, and they don't need to be. I believe most of them are because of their nutrition. So I'm coming up on 1 year on carnivore. I decided about 100 days in, I wanted to do a documentary. We decided to name it Healing Humanity, the Power of a Proper Human Diet. And since then, we've been going around the world filming people. We filmed Bill Knott in Alaska. We filmed Maggie, the 82-year-old carnivore in Canada. We filmed Jeff DeProsperous, Dr. Tony Hampton. We just filmed Dr. Ken Berry, and then we just did this big meetup in Montello. So we are making some really good progress. I'm really excited to share some of that progress with everyone. The last thing I'll say real quick is we're putting everything we have together so far, which I just mentioned, and then a bunch of live streams. We're putting it all into a prototype for the documentary Healing Humanity. We actually have our editor, John, working on that right now. Dr. Barry was the last piece of the puzzle we wanted to film for that. So that's going to be coming. It's going to be a couple of weeks. He's working on it really hard, but we're going to be able to share that with everyone. I can't wait to do that. So.
Okay, that's great. Fantastic, Kerry. You mentioned about Adam and him telling you about, Kerry, I cannot believe it. I'm just going to read out the email I sent to you. Then we'll go into some questions. Kerry, knowing you so well, I still find it hard to believe that this is exactly what Adam was saying, that you were ever depressed, down, struggling, hopeless. And many will think the same. You're so effervescent, energetic, passionate, giving and generous. Maybe it's a diet change, okay? I'm aware of your crazy schedule, but any chance we can do a deep dive on you, depression and how come, when you've got such a great family life, work life, and amazing business. So that mirrors exactly what Adam said to you, and I'm so glad he said it. But I think that's how we do. This is how life is, isn't it? We go out there and we always see somebody who's probably got it better than us, especially in the social media world. There's so much comparisons, look at what I've got, look how great I am. And you can see that this almost like a tsunami of depression. When you go out there into the real world, I think I'm a bit like yourself. I'm not a lover of money. It's never brought me happiness. And, I'm more interested in internal things. I think you're on the same lines. But as I say, it's just a sad state of, 2024 that so many people, as you say, over 1 billion are struggling so much. But yeah. So shall I ask you a couple of questions first, do a little bit of a spotlight on you, and then maybe let's just then talk about your medical records?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I can't believe I'm actually talking more than you. Anyway, so question number one is pretty obvious. How old were you, Kerry, when you first became aware that you had these mental health issues?
I have always been anxious since high school, but the real dark, deep depression didn't start until I was in my 30s. And, like for your question, Alex, earlier, and then Adam's also, it's really tough. How do I say this nicely? I'm like, unless you have experienced just this really dark, deep depression, it's so hard to describe to people. That's one of the frustrating parts with it, because people are like Adam was like, you got such a great family, everything's going good. Like, how could you be depressed? And I've heard so many other people I've interviewed on my channel that had depression, and they'll say the same thing. They'll say, I have a beautiful family. I love my family. I love my kids. So I can't explain it, but I'm so deep and dark and hopeless. And I can't explain it. It is very hard to explain. It's like everything you look at through a different lens. Everything is negative. Everything is bad. And everything is just hopeless. No joy whatsoever. And yeah, for me, that started in my 30s, and it just got worse and worse. And for me, I guess, I don't know if I'd say pride myself on this, but if you're watching my YouTube channel, I'm going to give you the honest, unfiltered truth. I'm going to be honest with you. And even when I had the worst depression, I wanted to be honest with people, but you don't want to talk about it either. So it puts you in this weird sort of position. You feel so bad. For me, it's my family. My wife and I have triplets plus one. We have girls, and they had to witness their dad sitting on the couch, catatonic, like a zombie, always mad, always sad, always angry, never smiling. And it would wear on me because I see what I'm doing to them, but I can't stop. And I would want to be like, should I just fake it? Should I just try to act like I'm happy? And I'm so miserable, I can't even act like I'm happy, but then I'm lying to them, trying to put on a face that isn't there. I've kind of told this before, but at our old house, I used to have this, we had a garage and it had a detached little workshop, and there were no windows in it. Alex, I used to go down there, and this was for a couple of years. That was my spot. I would go down there and I would just sit there like, I'm going to do woodwork. I would sit there in the dark, no windows. Sometimes I'd cry. Sometimes I would just sit there just completely and utterly hopeless. Like, that's how dark it was for me. And this went on for years and years and years. And I've talked to other people since that have had it even worse than me. But it's so hard to describe to people. It's like you have this constant cloud over your head. Everything is bad. You're hopeless and you're sad, and you don't have any hopes and dreams anymore. And you're just barely getting by. That's kind of the brain part of it. But then you're also constantly anxious and worried. And then on top of that, you start getting tired and fatigued. And my depression after a couple of years turned into insomnia, where I wasn't sleeping. So then that just compounded things. Because I wasn't sleeping, I'd start getting these other illnesses and sicknesses and constantly having colds and weakened immune system from lack of sleep. And then when you don't have sleep, you're irritable and you're snappy at people. Your family my poor family had to put up with all that. Yeah. And it just starts compounding and circling each other. Yeah. And I went a couple of years with that dark, deep depression before I finally went in for help. My wife took me in to see someone and started me on medication. And I wish I could say I went on the medication and I was better, but unfortunately I wasn't. I was suicidally depressed. I was, I guess the best way I can describe this, I mentioned this once before on a different podcast, but there was a really famous celebrity that I loved that had committed suicide. And I was heartbroken that happened. But at the same time, this is how dark and hopeless things were for me. At the same time, I was happy for him because I was like, I know how sad you were and how hopeless it was. And now you're free from that. And people were saying on the news and stuff, they were like, how could that guy do that to his children? And this is how sick I was, Alex. I was just in such a dark place that I was saying, well, yes, that would be horrible if my children had to go through that. But on the flip side, they wouldn't have to deal with this miserable human being anymore. Every single day they see their dad miserable and upset and sulking on the couch and just a shell of a human being. It would be tough. It would be hard for them, but I was like justifying this stuff in my head. Like, yeah, maybe I could. And that was when it got really bad, when you start having suicidal ideation and just nonstop, just thinking about ending your life. And that's where I was at. I finally went in to get help with my wife, Jen. And this is what they tell you. You could try this medication. It's going to take 3 months before we know if it works. And you have to take it every single time and you can't miss it. And I took it every single time I did it. I was like, please, anything, whatever. Like, I didn't want to do medication, but I was so desperate. I'm like, anything, whatever, give it to me. I did it for 3 months. It did nothing. And then I had to go back in after 3 months and they're like, it's fine. We'll up the dosage. But you got to give it 3 more months now. I did that for a year on the first meds. And after a year, it did. I shouldn't say it did nothing, but it just turned me into more of a zombie with no emotion. So sorry to make this so dark and depressing, but that's the nature. That's kind of the nature of it. And then they tried me on another medication, and I did that for years. They put me on anti-anxiety medicine. They put me on medicine for my sleep. They put me on different medicine for my sleep. Later, I went in for a sleep study and they put me on a CPAP machine, but I was on literally every type of medication there was. And I guess it prevented me maybe from killing myself. But it was no way of living. I was just an emotionless zombie. There were no highs. There were no lows. There's really no purpose in life. And you're just kind of barely getting along with things. So It was such a dark, dark place that's so hard to describe to people if you haven't been there before. Because this is what I will say to people, just to encourage people. If you know someone that's depressed, try to understand that you probably don't understand the depths of their depression. And don't ever say to them, just go walk it off. Oh my goodness, I heard that one so much. Just go walk it. Like, I'm going to go for a walk. I can't even get out of the couch right now, and I'm going to go for a walk and walk it off. So that is kind of where I came from, and going from the darkest dark, the most hopeless of hopelessness, going from that to, like I said, flatline would have been amazing, but the sheer opposite. I don't know how I couldn't be so excited. Not necessarily just for myself, but the billion other people that are going through that depression. It's like, this is the answer. I did every single pill. I did everything the doctor told me. Exactly. I didn't cheat. I didn't miss a pill. I did exactly what they told me, and it didn't work. This is working. And it's not just for me. That's what really fired me up, Alex, was when I started doing this research some more. Chris Palmer wrote that book, Brain Energy. And now we got Dr. Georgia Ede with her recent book, Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind. But all of the individuals I started talking to, the individual carnivores that have had crazy, and not just depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, like PTSD, all of these health disorders, I'm seeing it over and over again. It's all just the foods we're eating. Yeah. I don't know how you couldn't be fired up. So I feel like it's that. And then the last thing I'll say, sorry, I'm starting to ramble again. The last thing I'll say is, I feel like I'm making up for lost time. I feel like the last 15 years of my life were just in a blur. wasted with depression and medication and just a cesspool of medication. And now I've got this freedom and this energy, and it's like I'm making up for lost time, which is a blessing and a curse, because I gotta find a good balance with the family. And it's like go, 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 go sort of thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, as I say, don't apologize, Kerry. The thing is, this is a taboo subject, even in 2024. And I do feel as if it's now time for people obviously in the carnivore community, particularly yourself and some of the doctors, to start to really shout this from the rooftops. And I think the more we do it, the more people will come on board and say, yes, I am struggling. I need this information. And, well, you agree with me, Carnivore is the best platform for this. So never apologize for that. I mean, it goes back to stoicism and having the courage to even talk about these things. I mean, I'm from Liverpool in the UK, and in the 60s, men didn't talk about things like this,
right?
And we just didn't talk about it. I came from a dockland area in Garston, and men were men. You know what I mean? They just if you were a pussy if you talked about stuff like that, and that's the way the world's been. And as I say, now I think it's the time for us to sort of, I don't know, let the cat out the bag.
100%. And
yeah,
just one thing I want to add on that.
Yeah.
It's getting worse and worse. And that's the other reason I'm passionate about it for my children and their generation, because how bad it was for me, Alex, I ate some crappy food. I ate fast food and junk like that. But the food that my children's generation is eating right now is way worse than what I ate coming up through that. And more seed oils, more processed foods, more glyphosate, pesticides, toxins in the food, sugar, and literally every single thing. There was still a lot of sugar when I was younger, but it is way worse now. Every time I go out, I see like my girls, their friends and stuff, they're all drinking a big Starbucks. It's just full of sugar. And so I'm really worried for this next generation of kids coming up. I think it's going to take a while, but we're going to see just unprecedented levels of mental health and depression and anxiety.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing it now in my job as you know, I swim teach, and I teach schools in the daytime, and I teach 5 to 11-year-olds at the in the evenings, and I'm seeing boys, not particularly girls, but lots of boys, 8, 9, and 10, who are morbidly obese. They have stretch marks, obviously, because they're wearing swim costumes, and it breaks my heart standing there talking to them, and I can see. I know it's a bit heartbreaking, but I can see the sadness in their eyes, because the child doesn't know what to do. The parents probably don't know what to do anyway, because we've all had the same indoctrinations. I was brought up on sugar.
Mm-hmm.
My mum didn't think she was harming me. I got to London in my 20s and realised that there was a better way to sort of feed myself. But it's only when I got to later life that, obviously, coming across carnivore, you suddenly find out you've got the magic key. But it's very, very frustrating not being able to share it with people who are actually struggling, and you can actually speak to them. So, yeah, it is heartbreaking. So let's get back to you. And I say, any question you don't want to answer, I mean, if it is too raw, I fully respect that. But I think you've got guts to come on and talk about this. So I'm going to cherry pick just one or two. The next one I was going to ask you was, in the early days, what impact did getting the depression have on the family, particularly Jen, and obviously later with the girls? What was the impact on?
Yeah, it was very rough. It's you go through life, and I always like to say, I don't have any regrets, because that led me to where I am now. But that is one of my biggest regrets, that my kids had to go through that. Just see their dad so depressed and so sad all the time. And I should have been out there like kicking the soccer ball around with the girls, and I'm laying on the couch and I can't get out. For Jen too, it had to be pretty scary. Like she had to do the brunt of the work, as if it isn't tough enough having triplets +1 and raising them. A lot of my depression happened too when the girls were at the worst age for parents, like the toddler age, the terrible twos and things like that. Yeah. So she had to take a brunt of the parenting and holding the whole household and family together, for sure. So yeah, it took a huge toll on the family.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. Did you ever seek any professional help besides your doctor?
Not for a long time. It was years before I went in for help, and it was really thankful to my wife Jen that she said, it's gotten so bad, you're going in now. We're taking you in somewhere. So she took me in to see a psychiatrist and get me on medication.
Yeah, great. Something that happened to me, obviously, when I struggled with depression in 2020, but was there any specific triggers in the early days which would, set you off?
That's the crazy thing. For some people, I guess there are certain life events that could maybe trigger an episode of depression.
Yeah.
There really wasn't anything definitive for me. It's just, by all accounts and measures, like we were talking about earlier, my life was great. The kids were great. We had good income, good job, nice house. Marriage was great. Everything. There was literally it wasn't like, oh, I lost my job or anything like that would have triggered it. It was just the foods I was eating causing it.
Yeah, incredible. Next one, coping mechanisms at the time. Was there anything that you specific, like a strategy to try and, come out of the fog?
Oh, wow. No, I guess the only thing I did was, like I mentioned, I would go hide. I'd try to stay away from the girls, more so for them than myself.
Yeah.
But then the insomnia got really bad. So it was I'd just lay around watching TV till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I'd be up all night. There really wasn't anything. There was no energy to do anything. Like in retrospect, now that I'm doing the proper human diet, I've got energy. I love going out with my daughter, Katie, and kayaking, or going out with Emma and Alyssa and going on bike rides.
Yeah.
I feel great after doing that exercise, but I didn't have any energy or motivation like to even think about doing that back then.
Yeah. Okay, great. I've only got 1 or 2 more, and then we can obviously talk about your medical records, which I'm going to be really interested in. Besides doing carnivore or changing the diet, what advice would you give for people who were sort of in the early stages of having anxiety, mental health issues, or depression?
Besides doing carnivore, because I know carnivore is extreme for some people, eliminating the sugar. You can eliminate sugar without going full on meat. So you can do, and this was one thing that helped me a long time ago. I guess this is maybe a coping mechanism for your earlier question. Years ago, Alex, I saw a documentary on Netflix called Fathead, and it was about the ketogenic diet. And it was the first time I ever learned about what the ketogenic diet was. And it was all from a Netflix documentary, which fast forward now, the reason I'm doing a documentary is because I was inspired by that one years ago. And I was like, I don't see anything about carnivore diet in terms of a documentary. When I did the ketogenic diet way back in the day, that was the only thing that ever touched my depression. It didn't do anything like carnivore did, but it did. My anxiety started to lessen, and I noticed, like, I even remember saying to Jen back then, I'm like, I started doing a ketogenic diet. I'm like, this is working more than any medication they've ever given me up until this point. But I could never maintain it, and it never went to the extent that it did now. It never fully got rid of my depression. I had, and over the years too, I had moments, and like people, I've been doing YouTube for 8 or 9 years. People say, oh, I saw you did a YouTube video 3 years ago. You didn't look that depressed. I say, look 4 months later, because I'd be 80 pounds heavier, and you might not have seen a video for a couple of weeks or a couple of months because it's back in to that horribly depressed sort of area. So, but yeah, ketogenic diet, it's, for me, it's food. No matter what, it's food. I wouldn't tell you to exercise if you're depressed, because a lot of people, they just can't get up and do that. But nutrition is the number one thing. And if you're too scared to do carnivore, I would say cut out all that sugar and maybe try to do a ketogenic diet.
Yeah. I've had an experience recently with an elderly member of my family who's, I take him to the hospital almost once a week, and he could see how I lost so much weight, and he realized my health was just phenomenally better. And he asked me what I've been doing, and I suggested that he should cut out all the sugar. He's diabetic too. And because of his age, he said, oh, I just can't be bothered. But I wanted to say to him, but you can be bothered asking me to take you to the hospital every week, 30 times since the 1st of May last year.
Wow.
And well, I mean, I didn't say that to him because I'm too nice.
Right.
But you think to yourself, that's what I should be saying to that person. I mean, it's a truth, but maybe it'll hurt them too much. But it's crazy how we think, isn't it? Or not all of us, but some people think, oh, I can suffer with diabetes, I can suffer with all these issues, my weight, insomnia, etc. But you know what? I can't be bothered to change my diet. It's just insane.
It's nuts. We had Dr. Hampton for this big meetup we did at the Montello Theater. He was on the screen, and this is one thing I said. I don't know if other people have said this before, but people will tell me, Alex, oh, life is too short to eat just carnivore. I got to have variety. I got to do this. And my response back to them is, no, your life is too short because you're eating all of that garbage. My life isn't going to be too short. I think I'm going to live a really long time. And the difference is, Alex, you and I are actually living. They're not living. They're just getting by and going through the day with all their doctor's appointments and ailments and issues and sicknesses.
Yeah. I mean, I've said to you before, I don't feel years younger. I feel decades younger. Sophie's 32. Alex is 23. He's just moved down to London. I could be a granddad in a couple of years' time. I want to be chasing them around the park, the grandkids, maybe great grandkids, thinking about what the Chafee says, that I'm 65, but, am I really middle-aged? It just depends on where you're coming from, doesn't it? And I've said to you before as well, I can remember when Sophie was born and the euphoria of being a new dad, beautiful wife, Michelle, fantastic life, had a great job, beautiful house, beautiful new daughter. Life doesn't get any better, does it? And that excitement, I can feel like that today. And it's not a word of a lie. For any new viewers, I know that it's hard to sort of, get that across to people, but it's an internal emotion that you sometimes just can't describe to people. And I see it on your face all the time.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing because you're getting your joy and your happiness from your family and from your life. That's where it should be. And people that say, oh, I couldn't do a proper human diet because I get so much joy from eating. If you're only getting your joy in life from eating, you're doing something wrong. And that joy is a temporary mouth pleasure that you have for a couple minutes or an hour, and then you end up suffering for it for the rest of your life. It's a foolish foolish barter for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you've been able to get hold of some of your medical records. Would you like to dig deep into them and sort of just expand on what you've got?
Yeah, well, I haven't even really scratched the surface on these, but I was working on this earlier today, and the biggest thing is, obviously I knew I had depression and anxiety, but when I look through all the records, I've started printing everything out, just how much I had it for so many years. So, and then all of the other health issues that I had in between it. So I guess just real quick, I'll kind of go through this. In 1994, when I was 14, I started getting stomach issues. I was diagnosed, I think I was misdiagnosed with Crohn's disease. So that's in my medical records. And then later I had a couple colonoscopies, and I think on the second one they're like, I don't think you actually have Crohn's disease. I don't know what the issue is, and they could never figure it out. But I had really bad stomach issues. That was at age 14. Then I started gaining weight through high school, and then into my 20s I just kept gaining weight. So then the next one I had was, I put this on the list, undiagnosed depression and anxiety. That started, like I said, I've had anxiety the whole time. The depression was in the 30s. In 2014, I was diagnosed with squamous cell cancer. I had skin cancer on my ear, and people are going to say I'm crazy. I don't care. I think in 20 years, people will look back right now. I believe that most cancers are caused from chronic inflammation. I don't think I had that skin cancer from sun exposure. I barely ever went in the sun myself. And every time I did, I was always lathering on all the suntan lotion, something I've completely changed on the proper human diet right now. I won't get into that too much because that really fires people up. But I really believe that I wouldn't have had that cancer. I think it was due to the food I was eating. That's what Professor Seyfried says anyway. Most cancers is a metabolic disease, and most of them are caused from chronic inflammation. I could be chronically inflamed if I was smoking, or if I'm sitting out in the sun, or I'm coming in contact with toxins. Maybe it's a little bit of those. I never smoked though, but I had chronic inflammation my entire life because I was eating highly inflammatory food. I did it for days, months, years, decades. Before you knew it, 20 years went by of eating highly inflammatory food. So a little bit after that, my appendix burst. I had my gallbladder removed because I was diagnosed with IBS. So I had these constant stomach issues, just gurgling and stomach pain all the time. I had 6 colonoscopies and 2 endoscopies. One of the endoscopies, so that's when they put the camera down your throat. I made a joke to the guy, Alex. They said, please make sure you use different cameras when you go down one or versus the other. But I had silent acid reflux. It never hurt, but my whole throat was completely inflamed, and it was precancerous. They told me I had to come in at quicker intervals in the future, like every couple of years, to get this checked out again because it was so inflamed. probably because of the foods I was eating. During all of these different diagnoses too, there's like every third one is depression. So undiagnosed depression. Then the next one was major depression, recurrent major depression, depression and anxiety. And then I got to get these. I'll have the dates for everything, except I got to fix a few of these dates because they're in a different system. But I had a mini stroke about 6 years ago. And this was when I was deeply depressed and I had insomnia. In fact, I was on the couch in the living room and I was there all night. I had insomnia. I'm like, I'm just going to stay here and watch TV on the couch tonight. The next morning, I got up and I got really dizzy. I was falling over. The side of my face was numb. My hand was really tingly, and Jen called 911. I went to the stroke unit an hour away from here. I spent 5 days there. They did all these tests on me and they diagnosed me with the TIA mini stroke.
Yeah.
After I had the stroke, they had to do all these subsequent tests, and they did tests on my heart. I've always had an irregular heartbeat, and they found that I have a low ejection fraction, which means my heart can't keep up with the needs of my body. And I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. That was around 2015 that happened. Then I started seeing the cardiologist, and they put me on a ton of medication for my heart. They put me on statins I think it was in my 30s then. Yeah. And then after that, it was recurrent major depression. I had another colonoscopy where I had like 6 polyps. They weren't cancerous. Abdominal pain, fatigue, cardiomyopathy, dizziness, tachycardia. That was in 2018. I kept going back into the doctor, and I had to get physical therapy after the mini stroke because it was imbalanced. I'd stand up and I'd get dizzy. I kept feeling like I'd fall over. And then after that, I went to see a different psychiatrist. This was in 2017, and she noted recurrent major depressive disorder and anxiety disorder. And that was when they tried me on another medication. After that, I went in for a sleep study where I had to go sleep at this place. They put all these things on me, and they said, you have sleep apnea. That's when I started doing a CPAP machine. That was in 2016. I had a couple of pilonidal cysts, which is one of the worst surgeries ever. I had 3 of those, and additional checkups with a different psychiatrist, major depressive disorder, again, anxiety disorder, neuropsychological testing. I went into this neurologist. They did all these tests to test my memory to see if it was like a long-term effect of having the stroke because my memory was so bad. That was my biggest thing for a long time. I know I mentioned it before, but the brain fog for me was horrible. In retrospect now, I believe that was all just due to inflammation from the food I was eating. Sorry, I could go on for hours on this. I'll wrap it up here. Let's see, what else do we have? Several additional heart tests, sleep apnea, chest pain, shortness of breath. I had this thing in 2017 where the side of my hand was going numb again, and they were worried if this is something from the stroke or something else. So they did all these nerve tests where they hook all these things up to me. After that, my stomach issues got really bad. I was diagnosed with IBS. They put me on a low FODMAP diet. That didn't work. I had my gallbladder tested, and there's actually like an ejection fraction measurement with the gallbladder, and it was just slightly off. The doctor was like, you could do surgery or not. I'm like, I'm in so much pain. Let's just get rid of the gallbladder. So lost the appendix, then lost the gallbladder. After that, the last couple of years, lots of reports I went in for multiple doctor's appointment because I was lightheaded and dizzy with their irregular heartbeat. They kept doing new tests. Then I had this big neck swelling on my side. I went in and I had a bunch of MRIs and CTs for it. I had this mass on the back of my head. They checked it out. They said it wasn't cancerous. Actually, I still have that now. It went down a little bit on carnivore.
Wow.
The last record I had was from my cardiologist, and he took notes of everything. And they were checking out my irregular heartbeat again, and they changed my medication one more time. I was on 3 different meds for my heartbeat. And his note was really interesting because he was like, it noted all of my past history, and it was like major depressive disorder, anxiety, mini stroke, congestive heart failure. And then he noted just my crazy weight fluctuations, and he showed my weight. It was like I think the first record was like 213 pounds. Then it was 220, 230, 240, 262. That's in my medical records. That was at my heaviest. At my lightest right now, I'm in my 160s. I think I'm at 162 right now, so I'm 100 pounds lighter. But he noted I remember talking to him. He's like, "What's going on with your weight?" And I'm like, "Well, I'll do this keto, and then I'll get depressed and anxious. I'll start eating again. I'll gain all the weight back. Or I'll do this keto, and I can't stick to it because I'll get to the bottom, and then I'll go back into moderation. I'm just going to have salad now. I'll have some blueberries, some raspberries. And anytime I'd get a little bit of sugar, I couldn't moderate. I'd go nuts. I'd gain all the weight back. I'm down 80 pounds. And then like 4 months later, I'm up 90 pounds. I would gain it all back and then some. So that was kind of the craziest one. I guess the last thing I'll say is I'm going to go back in. Jen and I are trying to figure it out. We have private insurance. It's incredibly expensive. I was going to go in at the end of the year to get my heart tested again because my irregular heartbeat I've had since birth is gone. I mentioned this before. Jen was listening to my heart. I bought a stethoscope. I've had it my whole life. I've had probably 25 heart monitors that I've had to wear over the years. It's completely gone right now. And I feel like my congestive heart failure, which means my heart can't keep up. I feel like that's gone because all of the symptoms I had for congestive heart failure, I'd stand up, I'd get dizzy. I was always fatigued. I was always tired and fatigued. I have none of that anymore. I could jump up out of this chair. I could run around in circles for 3 hours and I don't get tired anymore. So I don't know if that's even possible. I probably shouldn't talk about it till I get the test done, but I'm going to get the test done. I'm going to have them test my congestive heart failure and see if that's reversed. So we'll be sharing that with everyone, hopefully in the coming weeks.
Yeah, well, that's incredible. I could cherry pick some of them that I've experienced myself, and I've mentioned in some of my videos. But my heart arrhythmia, that's gone. I know these are only Fitbits, they're only trackers, but that does pick up. Whether you do have an irregularity. And ever since I've been on Carnivore, there's been no issues at all. But that's for another story. Should we check on these books we were going to talk about?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's have a quick look at these books. Hold on. So, I haven't read this one yet, but I think you have. Is that right?
I am overdue to read it. I have read like the synopsis of it, and I've heard Dr. Chafee talk about it. I did read the entire book that Dr. Georgia E. did, and I'm going to read Chris Palmer's because I've heard nothing but good things about it. Dr. Chafee was the first one. Dr. Chafee was the first doctor I talked to. And I'm like, listen, I had horrible depression, anxiety. And the first thing he mentioned was brain energy, Chris Palmer. And he's like, this is why, and this is what's wrong with you. Yeah.
I'm hoping to get it on the Amazon Audible. The next one is something that's probably close to your heart, isn't it? With Dr. Eid.
Yeah. I didn't even know Dr. Eid until maybe 2 months ago. Dr. Hampton introduced me. He's like, you should talk to her. And then I had her on my channel and she mentioned this book. She sent me a copy of the book before it went live. And I don't want anything and I don't get anything for promoting this book. I told her this, and this is the truth. I'm always truthful with everyone. If I had that book when I was in that deepest, darkest depression, when I was in the woodshed, when I was suicidally depressed, it would have changed my life forever. I yelled at Dr. Eid. I was joking with her. I'm like, why couldn't you have written this like 20 years ago? Would have changed my life forever. But that is how powerful this book is. I totally stand behind it. And I tell people, like, listen, if you're hopelessly depressed and you can't afford this book, I'm not rich. I don't have a bunch of money, but I will scrap together the money. I will buy it for you. It will change your life. It's so well done. All of the science is in there. And she says it so beautifully. Hope is on the menu. That's what I love, because if you're depressed, you have no hope. You're completely hopeless, literally hopeless. There's never going to be any hope for me. That's what we're thinking. And it's just the way we're eating. She's got there's so much great stuff in this book. And the thing I love with it too is, I mean, even in the end of it, it gives you different options, because so many people, when we talk about carnivore, they freak out and they can't wrap their brain around it. This gives you options and ways to step into it and kind of meet you sort of in between there. But I told her this, and it's the truth. The answers that are in this book, I was searching for my entire adult life.
Yeah.
If I would have found this book, then it would have changed my life years and years ago. And like I said, there's 1 billion people right now that are hopelessly depressed. And it's like, we got to get the word out about this book. We got to get the word out about this book for those people, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So that particular book is on my shopping list. That's for sure. This is nothing to do really with mental health and our deep dive, but I've got this one on Amazon Audible as well. But anybody who hasn't read this book or listened to it, it's a great read. Kerry, have you listened to this one yourself or read it?
Yes. Yeah. It's amazing. And Dr. Berry, obviously everyone knows he's amazing. I'm so blessed that we got to interview him, Adam and I, for the documentary. You know, Adam, I was worried. I'm sorry, Alex, I was worried. I was saying this to Adam. They say, like, when you meet your hero, it's never good. They're gonna,
true.
So I was a little worried about that. He exceeded every expectation. He's just incredible. So generous, just to even come out and do it. But yeah, that book is incredible. Just read the reviews on it too. The reviews on that book are incredible as well.
Absolutely.
And shout out Dr. Berry, just hit 3 million subscribers on YouTube.
Incredible.
Life changer.
Yeah,
one of the things with Dr. Berry too that was great, Alex, sorry, I got Adam in my head now. I'm thinking of Adam because he was there filming me with Dr. Berry. Dr. Berry spoke about people that are hopeless. And I was basically like, you guys will see this in the documentary, but I'm like, why are you so passionate about this? And he's like, Kerry, when I can talk to someone who's hopeless and I can give them a tool that will really give them hope, and it really works, unlike the medication.
Yeah.
How could I not want to do that? What could be more rewarding as a doctor? He's like, there's nothing else in the world I would rather do than give hope to the hopeless. And he actually got a little emotional during that. Both of us did. We shed a little tear together when he was saying that because he was so passionate about it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it's incredible. Now, this last one is one I bought. I think I bought this during the UK lockdowns, and it's over 700 pages long. An incredible book. It covers everything. It does cover nutrition, I think, in chapter 10. And I think the four metabolic health is the main problem with health today, which I'm pleased they talk about. They talk about EMF, electromagnetic fields, and stress. So, if you're eating a ultra processed diet and you're stressed to the yin yang, no wonder people's lives are shortening so much. But I would recommend this book to anybody. But the thing that would probably put them off is, say, it's over 700 pages long. It's like that. So what I try and do is I just cherry pick chapters when I, obviously take it to bed and stuff like that. But yeah, so 4 great books. Let's just get them out the way. So Kerry, let's have a look at the chats. Let's see what we've got here.
Yeah.
I think we've got a couple. Do you want to do me a favor and just go through them for me?
Yep.
You're quite good at this. Yeah.
Wow, we got a lot of chats. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can find a couple here.
Yeah.
While we're looking, again, my apologies for running late. That was totally. I don't think I've screwed up one of these yet. This is the first one. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You've got a couple of new members, I think, tonight as well, including Rosie Red. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Thank you so much. Anyone that joins as a member, every penny goes to the documentary. So we really appreciate it. Carnivorous Dude, my buddy Ed, he came out to the Chicago meetup, gifted 10 HomesteadHow memberships. Yeah. That's incredible. Who's your carnivore? Brett, $10. Kerry, and my 1-year carniversary is coming up in a few days. Happy carniversary to you, buddy. You as well. Brett is incredible. If you guys aren't watching his YouTube channel, go subscribe. He came to the Chicago meetup, and he just came to my house. He came to Montello Theater. And he was so nice. I felt bad, but I did the big meetup with Dr. Hampton. Then we came back to my house, and he cooked up some steaks for us. I was like, oh, let me do it. And I'm like, no, you're offered. You could do it. And he did a much better job probably than I would have. Thank you so much, Brett. And then we have Nick became a new YouTube member. So thank you for that as well. We do a members only live stream every Thursday at 3 p.m. Central. And I've been doing a lot of members only content. When we filmed Dr. Berry, we did 2 videos that were members only. So we're putting more and more of that out as well.
Yeah, great stuff.
Lisa C said, what was on the menu today besides ribeyes in Arizona? I had a ribeye for lunch today. What'd you eat, Alex?
Well, I tried a keto power bowl, Kerry. I've done a video which has gone out yesterday. It's done very well. I was telling you about the difficulty of eating with Michelle and Alex. Obviously, Alex has moved to London, but that was a little negative for us because I was the chef in the house. We always work different shifts, and Michelle would come in. There would always be a fantastic meal, 20, 30 ingredients, very, very la. But I just stopped cooking for the family, and I thought, I can't do this. I've got to maintain that family nucleus. And so I just decided to throw some chorizo sausage in, some pork sausage, and some onions and a normal power bowl, and it went down a storm. Michelle loved it. So, it's flexible, trying to be flexible, but I think I'm going to go back to line diet because I think for spring, summer, I'm ready to get down to my optimal weight. But yeah, I'm quite tolerant of any vegetables, even though I don't eat them anymore. But I find that white onions are very, very low in oxalates. So if anybody's still not quite there on carnivore, as probably as strict as me or Kerry, don't be scared of having stuff that's very, very low in oxalates and lectins. But if you want to go for carnivore, the benefits are just incredible.
Right. Yeah, I've ran into that challenge. I know exactly what you're saying, Alex.
Yeah.
One of the girls is doing keto. One of them's counting calories.
Yeah.
The cool thing though now is it's coming full circle as I come up on a year. The whole family now is strict keto, and 4 of us are carnivore.
Yeah.
And 2 are like ketovore, which is cool. But even my girls that are keto, people are like, "You're forcing them to do this." I'm like, "No, I'm not." My girls that are keto, my one daughter said she wants to do keto. I took her to the store. We bought lettuce, all sorts of stuff I would never eat. Bought her whatever she needed to get her going on keto, and she's slowly transitioning into carnivore. Hi, Kerry. How did you get all those things accomplished while so deeply depressed? Well, there was many years where I didn't get anything accomplished. One of the big things that I did get was we took over our small town movie theater, but I got to give credit where due. Like Jen, without Jen, it wouldn't happen. So Jen and I have been together since age 14. So we're a pretty good team, and I owe her a lot because she was holding things together for a long time for me. And the thing is, like, I was so deeply depressed for so long, but there are ebbs and flows to it. So there are times, like I said, where maybe for a month or 2, I'd be doing strict keto. I'm like, I'm starting to feel good again. And I'd start to get some energy and I'd start to do things. And then I'd fall off and fall back into the deep depression sort of thing. So
I'm just having a browse through as well. Bill Knott's in the house. Hello, Bill. Abida.
This person said, I'm in that hopeless joy in my early 40s. I've been watching for a while. How do we get out of it? How do we get out of being hopeless or having joy? Sorry, I don't understand the question. How do we get out of hopeless? If you're hopeless, and how you get out of it is through nutrition. That's what I've learned. Read Dr. Georgia Eads' book. Yeah. Oh, here we go, I guess. How did you pay the bills while so depressed, anxious, and exhausted? I'm stuck in that rut cycle. It was very tough. We had some very tough penny pinching times for sure. Like I said, though, luckily for my wife, I don't know how I would have done it without her. Jen was always working, and Jen is in charge of paying the bills, and Jen was in charge of budgeting, and Jen was in charge of when we had triplets, doing coupons. Does anyone do coupons anymore? That was way back in the day. Grocery shopping, trying to get all the best deals and save the money and make the budget spread for sure.
Yeah. Incredible.
Let's see. Sorry, there's so many comments here. I don't want to miss any. I'm just going through these now. Diet will fix almost everything. You just have to want it. That is definitely the truth for me, and I never would have believed that before. Like, really? All of those health issues I listed, just diet, the IBS, diet, sleep, the diet, depression, the diet. It was all just the diet. Even the heart issues. I believe most of the heart issues, too, was just from the fuel I was putting in my body.
Yeah. A good friend of Michelle's has started carnivore yesterday. She actually came up to see us at our house, so I thought she's definitely taking this seriously. And the first piece of advice I gave her was to write down what is your reason why. And so she's done that. She's on the second day. She's had a bit of a struggle with the obviously sugar withdrawal, but I know she's going to do it. So I'm not going to mention her name, but she's a really good friend of Shell's, and I'm with her all the way. I'm going to try and coach her on this one as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to do this video when you decide your why. What was it called? There's this grid you can make where you put in what are the pros if I keep doing whatever I was doing, and what are the cons, and what are the pros if I do carnivore, and what are the cons. And really, honestly, if you write those all down, it's a little exercise people can do that doesn't take that long. It's a great way to really get an idea of should you be doing this or not. And if I did that right, I'm going to do it in a video, but it's probably going to take me a while because of all of the cons of carnivore, or all of the pros of carnivore. It's just going to be a huge list. Alex, awesome questions. I agree. Carnivore boss.
Yeah. Thank you, Carnivore boss. Yeah.
Hey, shout out. Emma's in the chat. Emma, what's going on? That's my daughter, Emma.
Yeah, I've subbed to Emma's channel. Yeah. Keep it going, Emma.
Yeah, Emma's been doing some videos for sure. Now my other daughter, Katie, she's doing a little outdoor channel, and Katie's doing carnivore now too, and she's doing awesome.
Yeah, Katie's, I just subbed on her channel yesterday, and she seems really confident on screen.
It came out of nowhere too. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I keep getting this thing, Alex, where people are like, "Oh, you're making them do this, you're making them do that." I don't. I'm like, I'll support whatever they do. I looked on my YouTube thing and I saw Katie's video. She didn't even tell me she did that first one. And then afterwards, she's like, "Oh yeah, you got to watch this one. Shout it out for me, whatever."
Yeah, she's stroking the goats.
Yeah, yeah,
that's great. Yeah, super.
All right, let's see. I'm getting through all these comments here.
Yeah.
Oh, Katie's in the chat too. Shout out, Katie. Emma, you're doing great. We can film together soon. Yeah, we'll get an Emma and Katie video going together. My other daughter, Alyssa, is doing keto as well. And my daughter, Lily, is doing carnivore right now. Lily will never be in a video, which I respect. So I'm not putting her in any, but wow, Kerry has no gallbladder. Did I hear that right? That's right. I have no gallbladder. And you know what? A lot of carnivores, it's crazy because I get this all the time, Alex, where people are like, "I do carnivore, but I don't have a gallbladder." I know so many carnivores that don't have a gallbladder, and it was never a problem for me. I didn't have to take any supplements or ox bile or anything like that.
Wow. Incredible. Can I just put one on for Carnivore at 60?
Yeah.
Shout out to Sean White. His vid that tells of his massive weight loss is what caught my eye and began my conversion to becoming strict carnivore plus water only fasting. Lost 142 pounds.
Wow.
7.5 months so far. Awesome.
14 10-pound bowling balls.
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible. Wow. Well done.
So that's just over 10 stone, isn't it, in the UK, Imperial?
Wow.
Amazing.
All right, let's see if there's any other questions here that I missed. Sorry, there's so many here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Itzlin says, "I have so many of Kerry's symptoms." I'm sorry to hear that. Ease into it. Listen, you had a lot of questions here in the chat too. This is my biggest recommendation for you. I'll get a lot of people where they ask a lot of questions in the chat, and it's like, it's carnivore is pretty simple, but it's not that simple for me to just explain it to you so that you're ready to make the decision to do it. So I always encourage people, just go do your research. If you're thinking about, you want to get rid of these symptoms that you have that were like mine, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Barry, all of these guys, they have videos like Carnivore 101, Carnivore Mistakes. It's pretty straightforward, but if you're scared to start, it's just a lack of knowledge, and that information is freely available. It's at your fingertips. Just go watch one of those videos and it'll help you out for sure.
Yeah. I think what I find is that many of our viewers and subscribers I think they relate to people like me and you because they see us as real. You know, we're not professionals, but we've had transformations which are beyond our wildest dreams. And so when they hear it from us, I mean, you know, I always have to put disclaimers on mine like you do. They just have that sense of reassurance, you know.
Right. Yeah, there's something for sure about that because we're practicing what we're preaching as individuals, and it resonates with people more. Although some of these doctors too, like Dr. Barry's carnivore, Dr. Hampton, I really love him too because he's carnivore. Not only that, he's treating hundreds of patients a week.
Yeah.
And talking about metabolic health, keto, carnivore with them as well. He's getting a lot of people off their medication. So he's practicing what he preaches for himself, and he's also preaching it to his patients that come in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bazuki Group doing a lot promoting keto for serious mental illness. Shout out 100%. They run a YouTube channel called Metabolic Mind, and it's excellent. And I've talked with the folks over there. I love what they're doing. And Dr. Ead's done a lot of work with them as well. Metabolic Mind, great YouTube channel. The group, Matt Bazuki, the son of the mother and father that started the Metabolic Mind, he had bipolar disorder, major bipolar disorder that he reversed through ketogenic. His story is incredible. I highly recommend Metabolic Mind if anyone is looking for help with mental illness and nutrition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. My husband did carnivore for 30 days and his atrial fibrillation disappeared. And even though he quit, he still doesn't have it. His cardiologist is befuddled. Wow. That is crazy. I've had some AFibs. When you have AFib, you are at a much higher odds of having a stroke or heart attack. It can be very dangerous. I wish there was more on this. That's one of the reasons it's so crazy, Alex, because I'm going to go to the doctor to get my heart checked out and the congestive heart failure. It's one of the only times I have no reason to go to the doctor. I'm simply just doing it maybe for the documentary or maybe to document this or maybe for other people to say, look, I had congestive heart failure. Here it is in my medical records. I went on carnivore and now here are the medical records. Now do what you want with that information. But I wish there was more out there. I've heard from Philip Ovadia, a heart surgeon, Dr. Philip Ovadia. The heart performs much more efficiently while in ketosis.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's any studies about, I know there's anecdotal mentions like yourself and myself, but I don't know if there's any studies on heart disease or atrial fibrillation or irregular heartbeats reversing on proper human diet.
No.
Dr. Ead's book is just a great resource for anyone on how to do these diets, mental health or not. Very true. It's very accessible too. You'd think a book like that, you'd start reading it and be like, boring. It's not. I was hooked. I read the whole thing. I absolutely loved it. All right, let's see. Is Emma here? Yes, Emma was in the chat. There she is right there. Bill Knott's in the chat too. Awesome. Hey, so everyone watching on my channel, if you're not watching Alex's channel, go watch Alex's channel. Go subscribe to Alex's channel. You're missing out. Yeah. I really enjoy it. Your videos are getting better and better. I know you were a little nervous when you first got started, but you're killing it now. It's so much fun to watch.
It has become a new hobby, to be honest, and it's keeping me focused. And I think I said in my last one, I would never have dreamed 2 years ago that I would be doing videos, talking to myself in a car. I will say to you, obviously, Kerry, I do cherry pick some of your techniques, and I try and I've got probably about 20 different carnivores who I follow, avidly, and take some of their styles. I really enjoy it. I think we've got a question from, is it Carnivore Scott? Let's have a look. I'll put that one up. Can you read that one for me, Kerry?
Sure. Have any of you heard cases or stories on portal vein hypertension and carnivore? No, I'm sorry. That is one I have not heard. Portal vein hypertension. That might be a good one for one of the good doctors. Or maybe someone in the chat. If anyone in the chat has heard that, sometimes we'll see someone in the chat pop on.
Yeah. It's obviously, guys, I want to say thanks anyone on my channel. I've got 3,040 subs at the moment. Just incredible.
That's awesome.
I remember when I got my first 100, I just ran around the room thinking, well, there's 100 people who actually want to bother to listen to me. And what I try to do as well is slow down my talking because of my Liverpool accent.
Hey, you got a great voice. That's not flattery either. Someone was saying that in the beginning. They're like, I just love listening to Alex talk. And then they have to hear me come in and screech.
We're both ramblers, aren't we? I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got another question here. Let's have a look. Paul Hill, can you read that one?
Question: what was each of your aha moment that carnivore was working or changing you? That's a great question. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think I was getting dressed in the bedroom and Michelle was staring at me. And I wasn't naked, but she said, your waist is starting to go in. When you're 63 and you've been struggling for 20 years, going to the gym, trying to do what you were doing in your 20s and 30s, because I was super fit. And all of a sudden your wife gives you this incredible stare and compliments. After about 2 or 3 weeks of doing carnivore, I went, the magic, it was the pennies dropped. I am definitely on the right road here. And so that made me, I think I've got OCD. I think I've realized that, but I put the blinkers on. And after that 3rd week, everything went super hypo carnivore. It was incredible.
Awesome. For me, the aha moment was when I stopped snoring, and it happened so quick for me. It was crazy. My wife said you didn't snore at all, and it was a contentious thing. I think Jen's in the chat right now too. It was a contentious thing because I was snoring all the time, like literally waking her up. Or she had to suffer not through just the snoring, but with the sleep apnea. Alex, it would be like, and then there'd be a long pause where I'm just not breathing, and she'd like shake me to start. Even with my CPAP machine on, that would happen. So she was never getting any sleep, worrying about my sleeping. I stopped snoring so quick on carnivore, and that really excited me and made me angry at the same time, because I started doing more research. I realized Dr. Jordan Peterson stopped snoring the first week on carnivore as well. And a lot of other people have. And then I realized it's just inflammation, and that inflammation goes away so quick on carnivore. But I went to sleep studies and good doctors. This all the guy did. I remember his name. His name was Dr. B. He was a sleep specialist. That's all he did. He never once mentioned nutrition or inflammation. Now I realized something. He told me this. He said, Kerry, you're 80 pounds overweight right now. You're not going to stop snoring until you lose that weight, or you can use the CPAP machine in the intermediate. I didn't lose any weight, and I stopped snoring. So that was my big aha moment. I'm like, and then I was like, is this just a fluke? Like, what is going on here? And then the other things started happening, like the brain fog clearing up, the aches and pains in my lower back that I had since high school started going away. And it got more interesting from there. The last thing I'll say real quick was the biggest aha moment where I got really passionate and fired up about this was my kids, my daughter Lily, that had HS, this skin condition. And she went on carnivore with me. And on I've told this story before, so I'm not going to tell the whole thing, but she saw 5 different dermatologists over 5 years. They gave her pills, injections, everything. She had this painful skin condition. It's like acne on her chest and on her back. 8 days on carnivore, half her back cleared up. After 30 days on carnivore, completely gone, 100% gone. 5 years of suffering. She was coming to me and her mom and saying, I just want to die. This hurts so bad. You're taking me to all these doctors. They're just giving me pills. Nothing's working. And after 8 days on carnivore, half her back was cleared up. 30 days, it was all completely gone. That was like, this is incredible. All the skin issues that people have out there, acne, and so there's rosacea, all these skin issues. There's so many of them that I really believe are just tied to the foods we're eating, and they never tell you that.
Absolutely. Next one.
Can Jen start a channel on how she supported everything? No, she can't. No, she could, but she's busy. She's busy enough on her other thing. And Jen has her own channel called I Create Crafts. She does crafting and hobbies and stuff like that. So, and she's on my channel, our channel as well, Homestead How, a lot. She's been talking about her keto experiences and stuff, but very busy.
Yeah. Okay, Kerry. I think obviously I'm going to have to go. What a great chat. Absolutely fantastic chat.
Thank you so much, Alex, for doing this. You are welcome on my channel anytime. I really appreciate it. I'm so sorry I showed up late, but I love what you're doing. You're killing it on YouTube. You're awesome. Like I said, I was just editing. You're going to like this video, Alex. I was editing together. It's my 1 year on carnivore coming up next week. So I was doing this like highlights. And one of the big highlights was Alex, not just Alex, and the interview we did together that really took off. I was just so inspired by you. And then I shared your picture. As you know, I carried it around in my wallet like you're one of my children, and I show your picture to everyone. So that was one of the highlights, is showing Alex's picture to Dr. Barry and seeing his reaction and stuff like that. So anyways, that'll be coming out next week sometime.
Great. Well,
I really appreciate it.
I was going to say 3 of my favorites are the Dr. Chafee when you say Alex is 65 and he goes, geez. Another one, Dr. Berry, when Dr. Berry goes, Alex, blah, 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 about being 65. And obviously Dr. Hampton as well, when he went, oh, he's killing it. Or he's doing it. And I sat there, obviously really red with embarrassment, but obviously internally, I was absolutely delighted. But thanks for those videos, Kerry. I mean, you don't know what it's meant to me, because, I do say this so many times. I'm 65. I never thought I'd be talking like this. When I got to 60 and then I started hitting those depression time periods, I thought it was all over for me. I was like, I would actually sit there and go, is this all there is? And people might say, that is selfish, as you say, when you've got wonderful family, friends, you've got beautiful kids, you love your job and stuff like that. But to sit there and say to yourself, is that all there is? People might say, yeah, you're selfish, but I just couldn't help myself. It was just so. those videos that you've done for me, you just don't know what they've done for me. So thanks very much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I'm just so happy you shared your story because it's inspiring so many people. I get so many comments since that video we did together from people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s that you're giving them hope and you're inspiring them because they had that same thought. Well, this is it. I'm in my 70s. I'm aches and pains and ailments and issues, and it's all downhill. And then they see Alex, they're like, no, Alex is just getting started, and you could just be getting started too. And that's really inspiring for so many people. So
great stuff. Okay, so guys, I have viewers and subscribers. Guys, thanks from Kerry's channel, and obviously thanks from mine. I've really enjoyed tonight, and I'd just like to finish off with a beep. Should we do a beep?
Yeah, let's do it. Beep.
Okay, guys. Beep, beep, beep.
Thank you, everyone.
Hold on.
It's hard to